Spring into better sleep with the award-winning comfort of Casper. If you've never experienced sleep in 4D, you're in for a treat. Every Casper mattress is made with Casper 4D sleep technology, Casper's innovative formula for your best night's sleep. Explore all Casper products, mattresses, sheets, pillows, and more at Casper.com and use code Pandora100 for $100 off select mattresses. That's code Pandora100 for $100 off select mattresses. Exclusions apply. See Casper.com for more details.
Whether you're splitting the cost of a road trip with the guys, paying the dog walker, or sending birthday money to your favorite cousin, Zelle is a great way to send money to family and friends, no matter where they bank in the U.S. Plus, money goes straight into the recipient's bank account, typically in minutes between enrolled users. And you probably won't have to download another app, because Zelle is already in over 1,400 different banking apps. Look for Zelle in your banking app today.
Hey folks, welcome to the Adventure Sports Podcast. I'm your host, Mason. Man, if you weren't there on Saturday, I am sorry. We had a screening of the new film, Journey to 100, produced by Athletic Brewing, where I work for my day job in Wizard Media. We produced a film, and it was about actually one of the Adventure Sports Podcast guests, Jason Hardrath, his journey to 100 fastest known times, and we just screened the film in Denver. Technically, it was Golden, Colorado, just on Saturday at the American Mountaineering Center, and man, that was so cool. There was so many of you there. I got to meet some listeners. I got to meet got to see a lot of old friends. It was one of the coolest things I've been to in a while. It was so much fun. We had Dylan Bowman there, who was doing the Q&A with Jason Hardrath after the film. We opened it up to audience members to ask questions at the end. We did a bunch of giveaways. We gave away like $1,000 worth of gear from companies like Exped and Peak Refuel, Path Project. Who else? Gnarly Nutrition gave a bunch of stuff. So thank you to everyone who made it out. And we're going to be doing it some more. So if you want to see me this coming weekend actually, in Portland, Oregon, please come out. And then we'll be in Seattle the following weekend. Details are in the show notes. If you want to get tickets, they're $10. And we still have a few free ones to give away if anyone wants to come to Portland this Saturday or Seattle next Saturday. But anyway, today's episode is an equally crazy adventure to Jason's Journey to 100. This is Chris Fisher, and he is the king of the Max Vert Challenge of last year, which is basically trying to get as much vertical gain as possible in a month. And he started off with 250,000 his first year, 253,000, and then last year almost doubled that to over 400,000 feet of vertical gain in 1 month. So he's going to tell us how he did that, why he did it. I actually feel bad we didn't get into some of the backstory as to why, and I totally botched this interview getting into like what motivated Chris to do this with just his experience in the Navy and all that. I just was like, dang it, I totally missed getting to that. So anyway, he is out right now actually doing another huge challenge, climbing all of Colorado's 14ers in winter, by the way, because it's still wintertime. I was just there this weekend, and I got snowed on at like 9,000 feet, not even that high. It was snowing on me, and I was wearing shorts, and this Florida boy was freezing his butt off. But Chris is out there skiing all of the Colorado 14ers right now. So if you want to see that challenge, you want to see what he's doing, follow him on Instagram. Details in the show notes. But an insane adventure. Monotonous, yes. Probably boring at times. 100% difficult all the time. But climbing 400,000 feet pretty much on the same mountain over and over again for an entire month. This is Chris's story. Let's jump in. right, folks. Well, welcome to the Adventure Sports Podcast. Today we have something pretty wild that I don't think anybody listening is going to be able to do, but it's really interesting to hear about. Chris, man, holy cow, this is so cool. Welcome to the show, first of all.
Yeah, man. Thanks for having me.
Oh man, so where I always ask this first, where are you coming from today, and is that home?
I am in Breckenridge, Colorado. I just got back from a 50-inch powder chase down in Wolf Creek, and it was amazing.
Oh man, how are the mountains this winter out there?
Down there, it was amazing. Everywhere else I've been so far has been pretty dry for the most part. I mean, there's snow, but it's just not, a huge year for the majority of the West and Pacific Northwest.
Where are you originally from?
Originally, I'm from Dallas, Texas.
I sense a little bit of a southern twang.
Yeah, I'm a Flatlander, or I used to be Flatlander, I should say.
How long have you been in Breckenridge, or out west at least?
I've been in Colorado for 2.5 years now.
2.5 years. So were you doing elevation like this beforehand at all, or were you in Texas?
I was in Texas for pretty much the majority of my life. Grew up running track and cross country and then playing football as well. But ended up making the move out here after I got out of the Navy.
I want to hear about this Max Vert challenge. So you obviously had like a base level of fitness, being a football, track and field, and being in the Navy. What drew you to this challenge in particular, especially? I mean, being out 2.5 years is plenty of time to acclimate, but still, you're kind of new in a lot of ways.
Yeah, I would say I'm pretty new to the mountain scene, but it's been pretty awesome just starting out. The challenge was started back in 2020 when COVID hit and Cirque Series dropped all of their in-person races. And so they did a Max Vert October race, and it was just a bunch of wild people that were like, who can do the most vert in a month? And so I went out thinking, like 100,000 feet would be a pretty big achievable goal that would probably win it. And this is 2 years ago, so this is the first Max Vert. And man, I ended up with 250,000 feet in a month and finishing in sixth place. I had no idea how competitive it was going to be going into it. And it was pretty wild, man. I mean, these people that were really pushing the limits were getting out there and getting after it. And it was super inspiring.
So there was no way to know how other people were doing, if like there wasn't a leaderboard or anything?
There was a leaderboard. And, it's like we all started out doing like maybe 3 to 5K a day, thinking that was a lot, And then this one cat, Noah Brodigan, he finished with 342K and he was averaging about 11 a day. And he just never slowed down. We were all just completely mind blown, had no idea that it was even possible to do that.
That is so wild.
Yeah, man. And, that was 2020 back in the day. And after that ended, I was like, I know the trick now and how to do it. And so if I really want to do it, I just have to do it again next year. And that's kind of what it came down to, I ran most of the Cirque Series races throughout the summer. And at the last one, I was sitting down with Julia and some of the other Cirque guys that helped run the races. And I was like, I think I'm going to try to do 400,000 feet this month for Max Vert October. And Julian just kind of looked at me and didn't really say much and just went on his social medias on the Cirque started posting, this cat's going to do 400,000 feet. And I was like, well, I guess I'm in it now.
Yeah, when you start telling people, you got to do it then. So take us back to last year or in 2020 when you did, 200,000 feet. What?
250.
250?
Yeah, 253.
Jeez. So how difficult was that? Were you like, this is my limit, this is all I can do? And also, what did that day look like? What were you doing?
Yeah, man. So during 2020, I was actually working a full-time job. And so it was hard to like really squeeze in vert here and there. I was doing the first year, I did 24 different mountains here in Colorado, just having fun with it, going up and doing every mountain around Breck and up in the Front Range and having a great time. And about 2 weeks in, I was probably around 100,000 feet. And so I had already reached my first goal of the month at 100,000. This other cat's at like 150. And I'm sitting here thinking like, how am I going to get bigger? And so I made a new goal of 250K. And at that point, I was 150K away with like 13 days left. Come my birthday, I decided to do a 25,000 foot day for my 25th birthday. And that was kind of like my point of knowing that there's really no limit to this. And especially if you build your body and tissue capacity to get to this point, like you can really go all day at a certain point, you know. And yeah, it came down to the last week. I was 90,000 feet away from 250K with 6 days left. And I honestly threw a little pity party. I was pretty upset and didn't know how I was going to reach my goal. But then I pulled out the calculator and realized all I have to do is 15K 6 days in a row, which is not a little bit of vert. That's a lot. And
That's a
so,
lot, but you'd done 25.
yeah, man, but I already did 25, you know, and I was feeling great the next day after 25. So it was kind of just, it was really mental at that point. You know, the physical was not much of a burden. I wasn't hurting at all, really, the first year around. Second year is a completely different story. But the first year, I mean, no crazy physical pains. It was majority mental. And, you know, at those last 6 days, I built a trail here in Breckenridge that was about 500 feet tall. And I lapped that all day for 8 hours a day, 6 days in a row through snow. I mean, probably over a foot of snow throughout that last week. It was pretty brutal, but knocked it out and got to 250.
That sounds insane.
Yeah, man, it was pretty nutty. I'm not gonna lie.
What are you thinking about all day when you're doing this route? And like you said, I was going to ask, like, what have you found to be the most efficient way to get this vert? Because what people need to realize is you're not just going up, you're going distance too. You're doing like 15 to 20 miles a day, depending on the route you choose. What kind of sweet spot have you found? Because you're not like climbing a ladder necessarily, but you want it to be steep.
You want it to be steep. There's definitely a fine line between the steepness. So, you know, those 6 days of those 15K on that hill, that was about 15,000 feet and 21 miles every day. So the guy that won, he's out in Salt Lake City, or was in Salt Lake City, and he was doing Grander Peak for the entire month for the most part. And I realized that was really the most bang for your buck when it comes to up and downhill running. And for the second year, that's where I ended up spending the majority of my time. So yeah, that's kind of how that goes. I mean, there you can go steeper. Like there's one couple guys that did it on the incline there in Manitou Springs. And I did one day there and did 8 laps in the day. And it was the most brutal thing ever, just because of how steep it was.
So
man.
it's a little too steep.
A little too steep for me at least. Don't get me wrong. There's a cat out there right now still crushing it. I know I mentioned this to Emily in an email, but he broke my record just a couple months ago with 500K. This dude is going up and down the incline all day, every day. So I guess it just depends on who you are.
200, I'm reading now, 253,000 feet, max vert competition, and you got sixth. What did that make you start thinking about to do next year? Because this was a yearly thing at this point. I guess it was successful enough to want to do it again.
Honestly, for the longest time, I didn't think I was going to do it again. I was really banking on not doing it. And come August, I started chatting with Julian a little bit about it. And he was like, man, you got to come out and win it this year. And I'm like, yeah, I mean, I probably could. And I know, you know, how to do it now, but I don't know if I want to do it. And then, you know, I started thinking about it more and more. And I was like, yeah, I think I might as well go push my limits again and see what can really be done, you know. And I set that goal of 400K, and that's what I wanted. Didn't want anything less, you know.
What was the route that you were going to choose to make that happen? Because I know with 250, you climbed 20-something mountains. You had fun with it. It could have been buttoned up for I know the last 6 days were hell, and you did something really monotonous. But what was your plan to go for 400?
Yeah, man, the plan was to spend the first few days here in Breck, pack up all my stuff, head to Salt Lake City, and do Grander all day, every day. And that's what I did.
Why that mountain? Tell us some details about the distance, the elevation, and maybe even weather. I'm sure that plays into it too.
Oh, man. So that was one of my main concerns, is the weather here in Breck, about getting really, you know, snowy in the October months. But over in Salt Lake City, this was their wettest October in I think like 20 years or something like that. It was absolutely brutal, freezing rain, snow, and so the weather did not really play the way I thought it would. So that was huge. But Grander is a 300-foot mountain, and it's a little bit less than 5 mile round trip. It's like I think maybe 4.6 or something like that, and it's pretty steep. It's steep enough to go up and down, and you go up, you go back down, and you're not too crazily tired. And what I found about a week into it is that the lower half of Grander is really the place to stack the vert. And so I switched from doing full peaks to just half mountain laps, and I was doing like anywhere from 1,000 to 1,500 foot laps, and they were a bit steeper. It's a steeper portion, but it was also the less technical portion for like your feet, for your footing and stuff. And yeah, that's kind of how that played out. The last half of the mountain is really the steep part, and that's where you can just rack up the most bang for your buck. And honestly, at that point, I had no intention on going anywhere else because more mileage just didn't really play in what I was doing. It was more of keeping miles down and keeping that efficiency with the vert.
How tall did you say it was total?
It's about 3,300 feet from bottom to top.
The climb. Okay, what's the elevation of the peak itself?
Oh, the elevation of the peak itself is right over 8K. I think it's like 8.5.
Really? So what's nice about that, it's not like super high alpine where you're struggling to breathe. It's like right below that to where you can probably still breathe pretty well.
Exactly. And so that was like another factor that I kind of played into going out there, was that I've been living at almost 10K for, a couple of years now, and going a little lower would definitely help.
That's interesting. And let me ask you this too, because you're obviously watching other athletes. Did you see any really unique, strategy come into play? Like people who lived in flatland areas climbing, skyscrapers or garages or something. Did you see anything like that? Was like, oh, that's interesting. They have a good shot if they do that.
Yeah, there's definitely a handful of people doing that. Not like specifically skyscrapers or big stories. I thought about that. Like if I lived somewhere and there was nothing to run up, that's what I would have done.
Because it's completely uniform and efficient.
Exactly.
Think of like perfect stairs, straight up, no dirt, no gravel, nothing to slip. It's just controlled environment too. If it's indoors, that's interesting.
Yeah, that's definitely it's a thing that can be done, especially. But if you're in a place where there are hills or there are mountains, it's pretty frowned upon to do that.
Yeah, I could imagine it's like feels like a little bit cheating. But if you're in, to parts of Texas and have no other choice.
Exactly, dude. I mean, if I was still living in Texas, honestly, I probably would have never found this challenge. Probably would have never partaken. But exactly, like there's definitely I don't know, like you go to a football stadium and run up and down the stairs for 10 hours a day or something.
Exactly. Yeah, well, shoot, man, football. Yeah, you were a football player. Yeah, that's a perfect place, actually. Wow. So,
yep.
And some of those big college stadiums too are really steep, so you could get some serious elevation. Holy cow! So for you traveled. Now, you mentioned for the first year that you had a job. I assume that you didn't have a job if you were traveling out of state to do this for a month, or how'd you work that out with what you do for work?
Yeah, man. So I try to pitch the play of part-time work with them so I could do this thing, and it just didn't work out. So I ended up, I saved a little bit of money over the past couple of years, and I ended up just quitting my job, man, and really just chasing the dream of being an athlete and doing these things. And sure enough, it played out pretty well to the point to where I picked up a few sponsors that are paying me a little bit of money to do what I like to do. And so it's worked out very well, and it's kind of fallen into place exactly how I imagined and dreamed it would.
Was it weird out there thinking like, I'm kind of doing this for work, running up this peak every day for hours?
Yeah. That was definitely a mindset. At that point, it was definitely my job. It was 8 hours minimum a day on the mountain, go home, take a shower, stretch, roll out, go to sleep, wake up, eat food, and do the whole thing over again all day, every day. I mean, it was a full-time job for sure.
At what point in the second year's attempt, did you hit first year's 253,000 feet? Like that, like was it, yeah, obviously probably right after halfway or so through the month, but do you
Yeah.
remember when you hit that threshold? Let's take a quick message break and hear from the folks that help make this show possible. You know, on this show, we talk a lot about the adventure, but it's honestly the time between the adventure that is most important, being adventure ready, as we say. And the most important aspect of that is knowing your body and knowing what's going on inside your body. And the most important company that can help you do that is Inside Tracker, literally tracking what's going on inside your body. Inside Tracker analyzes your body's data and provides you with a clear picture of what exactly is going on so that you can make changes to your diet or see what's working, what isn't. And how they do it is they analyze all the data from your blood, DNA, lifestyle, and fitness trackers to help you optimize your body and know what's really going on. So if you'd like to learn more or get 25% off the entire Inside Tracker store, go to insidetracker.com/adventure sports. That is insidetracker.com/adventure sports. Inside Tracker can get you ready and keep you ready for all your favorite adventure sports. I am very excited to introduce to you our new sponsor, Vincero Collective. If you don't know who Vincero is, they're a premium lifestyle brand in San Diego that carries watches, sunglasses, and a ton more stuff. It's for men and women of any style, and you know what? It's really cool because they give back to the planet. They have been carbon neutral since 2019. They invest in renewable energy and forestry. You know, it's the stuff I wear when I want to look a little nicer than usual. You know, we can get pretty grungy here on the Adventure Sports Podcast, but when you need to clean it up a little bit, look nice for something, go out. This is the brand. This is who you wear, Vincero. I got a couple products from them, some sunglasses and whatnot, and I just absolutely love them. I will be wearing them this weekend when I go to a pretty important event. So I'm excited to kind of bust those out. You know, a little bit classier than what I'm used to, which I'm looking forward to. Don't just take my word for it. They got 30,000 5-star reviews, which is crazy. It's been featured in Forbes, Business Insider, all that. So if you want to try some and check it out, they're giving us a 15% discount on anything in their store using the code ASP at vincerocollective.com/ASP, and that's VINCERO collective.com/ASP.
Underdog Fantasy is the fastest growing fantasy app and easiest place to play fantasy sports. Just jump on UnderdogFantasy.com or download the app, draft your team, and that's it. And if drafts aren't your thing, they also have a pick'em game where you can win 20 times your money in a single night. Use promo code RADIO, and Underdog will double your first deposit when you sign up with up to $100 in bonus cash. Deposit $100, get $100 free. That's promo code RADIO. Terms and conditions apply.
That is plenty of that for now. Let's get back into the episode.
That was, I think, 2 or 3 days before my birthday on the October 23rd. So that was probably October 20th. I was a little behind going in. So the first 6 days were pretty brutal on my body. I was coming off of a string of injuries from my ankle throughout the summer and didn't really get to train as much as I wanted to for this thing. So I kind of went in just like no training. And the first 2 days I did 15K 2 days in a row. And then day 3 I did 12K. And at this point, my knees are hurting so bad. I'm like literally limping up and downhill. And so my days start getting really slow down to day 6. And I took a 0 day on day 6. So I got pretty far behind on my ideal track of what I wanted to do for the month. It kind of messed up literally everything I had going, the way I planned at least. So these things never really go as planned, but yeah, man, I ended up going to a PT to do some dry needling and didn't really know what I was going to do the next day besides drive to Salt Lake from Breck and see what happens. And yeah, that's kind of how that went, man. I mean, yeah, by day 20, I was pretty much back on track.
Like where would you say was like the crux of the experience? Was it then? Was it that early in day 6, or was it at some point in the month that was like, Oh my gosh, I don't know if I can do this.
Yeah, dude, it got worse, man. That was just the first string of like somewhat injuries I've had for the month. The real crux was my birthday, I would say. So building up to my birthday, my knees hurt so bad until about 2 weeks in. After the dry needling and after I got to Salt Lake, they were still hurting, but not as bad to where I couldn't walk. So I was finally walking uphill again and running down, but they were hurting very bad. And it would be like 10 to 12K or a little less, like 8 to 10K, they would finally warm up and then my knees wouldn't hurt anymore. So like the last 2 hours of the day, they'd be fine. But the first 3 or 4 or 5 hours, they had hurt pretty bad. So if I were to guess, it was some kind of tendonitis. And it was just like, it took literally 8 to 10,000 feet to warm them up, which is ridiculous. But, 2 weeks in, that kind of went away. And I started having like fascia tears throughout my quads and calves. So then a whole new problem occurred, and I was back to limping up and down the hill for hours. And honestly, man, the day or 2 days before my birthday, the quad tears got so bad to where I could hardly even walk again. I didn't know what I was going to do. And for my birthday, I was planning on doing an Everest for turning 26, but that didn't happen. I ended up So yeah, the crux was literally my birthday, the best and the worst day of the month. So I get up at 3 a.m. I drive over to the trailhead. I do one 1,200-foot lap, and at the top, my legs are just so beat that I can't even walk downhill hardly. I'm like literally limping on one foot. I get back to my truck to go back to sleep because I didn't know what I was going to do. I slept for another 4 hours, just kind of laying there in the back of my truck, really no idea what was going to happen. And one of the guys that helped film part of the experience showed up around 7:30, and we started chatting and whatnot. And I was telling him straight up, dude, I was like, man, I have a really bad cold. I feel horrible. My legs hurt. I could hardly walk. And I don't know what's going to happen, man. Like, I don't know if I'm going to be able to get the 400K. I was close enough to where I could at least break the record, and I knew that was going to happen. I'd push through for that. But honestly, I just didn't know if I was going to get the 400K or not. And so me and him had like a really deep conversation about that. And man, it was quite the convo for sure. But after he left that morning around 9 o'clock, after doing a little bit of film and photos, I just kept walking up and downhill. Well, more like limping up and downhill for another 12 hours, man. And I did 18.5K that day. And at the very end of the day, I sat there and was like, well, if I can do 18.5K feeling the way I do right now, there's nothing that's going to stop me from getting to 400K. And that was the turning point of the entire month.
Wow, man. So being out there a month, same route, did you start drawing attention from locals or from anybody on the rail? Just saying, like, what's this guy doing every day up and down this mountain?
Definitely a thing, man. So the majority of the people doing the Cirque Series Max Vert were out in Salt Lake. So there's a lot of those guys and those ladies out there on Grander. So we built a community on that mountain. But the locals that weren't participating, they knew who I was pretty quickly. And they're like, this guy is literally out here every day, all day. And I've seen him pass us 4 times, so there was a cool sense of community out there. And that was really another reason why I went there to do this, because I knew there were people there that were doing it as well, and that there were other people on the trail all day. And so it was really cool to see these other people and just like, see how my progress was going, where I was at in the month.
That is wild, man. And you mentioned other athletes were on Grandeur as well. Did you feel pretty confident that you'd take first place as the month started coming to a close, or did it come down to the wire with some of those other athletes?
I knew about halfway through that I was gonna, win it as long as I kept going. As if I didn't stop, there's pretty much no chance of getting caught. So there are teams as well. So you can do 2-person teams, and my partner and I took first place in the team category. He took second place overall with 303,000. So I was almost 100K ahead of him by the end of the month.
Holy cow! And was that Tyler?
That was Tyler. Yep.
Tyler Valovic.
He is an absolute crusher, man.
And not only him, I read that his parents were in it as well, getting quit.
Yeah.
They got 700. Tyler, his dad and his mom got 730,000 feet together
Yep,
combined.
dude, insane. They're a awesome family to be around. I mean, I looked at them as like second family out there on the mountain. I'd see them almost every day. It was awesome. They're some of the coolest people I have met for sure.
Wow. How did you run into him and do this together? Was it just like, hey, we're both doing this, let's help each other?
Yeah, so during the first year, we both partook, and he took, I think, 10th or 11th place, something like that. And we realized that no one else that was in the top 10 was going to do it again this year. And just because of real life, things. But we message each other. We haven't met in person at this point. We message each other and like, dude, let's do this. Let's go in and win this thing together. But we ended up, connecting, and it worked out perfectly. I mean, I knew what he was going for. He knew what I was going for. And I mean, everybody knew what we were going for, like as far as elevation totals. And I don't know. I don't think anybody really understood how much that was because most of the people that were doing it, this was their first year doing it. So I don't think they really realized, the actual toll it takes on your body and just time wise.
What were you fueling yourself with, and what were you doing to, I don't know, did you have any sort of guilty pleasure, anything you would indulge in just to kind of keep you motivated?
Yeah, man. So my favorite part of doing the Max Vert Challenge, which I don't know, I'm just gonna let you know now. I don't think I'm gonna do it again. But the best part about it is eating. I mean, I ate anything and everything. So I mean, I was burning probably 8,000 calories a day, and just absolutely shoved in my face with everything. But one of the places the place I stayed at down in downtown Salt Lake, there it was right next to a bakery. And so I'd go in there every morning and get the exact same thing. Like, I think it was at least 2,000 calories of food. I'd get a croissant sandwich, 3 peanut butter cups, a couple danishes, a piece of cake, and something else usually just for fun. And
Eat it right then?
eat all of it on the way to the trailhead, every single bite.
Well, man, that is so insane. Did you get, it's one mountain, one trail. How much did it vary for you? Like the same place, because you know how the seasons can take one place and make it really different. This is 1 month, so much less, I guess, diverse weather and whatnot. But did the place change over time for you? Or did you just feel
Oh
like it got
man.
more and more of the same?
Man, it was the craziest weather pattern I've ever been in. I mean, it snowed, it rained, freezing rain. The wind was over 50 some days. It was everything, every kind of weather. It was absolutely ridiculous, to be honest. I mean, I probably spent more days freezing and soaking wet than I did dry on that mountain.
Wow. Did that help at all? Just not overheating or staying cool?
Not really. I wear Rab. That's one of my sponsors, and like they make this jacket, the Phantom. It's like a really lightweight, waterproof, windproof jacket, and it was perfect. Like I'd wear that over anything, and I would stay dry for the most part. But when it's just dumping and pouring and windy as hell, I mean, you can't really do much to stay dry unless you're wearing full Gore-Tex. And at that point, then you're just sweating really hard. So yeah, there was days that it wasn't horrible. Like the rain definitely was kind of fun and it helped. But then there was also days where, I mean, I was so cold that I had to go warm up my truck twice a day, and that was pretty brutal. It's because, you just don't want to stop. You want to keep going until you're done, but you can't help that you can't feel your hands. So you got to go warm them up or whatever.
Your birthday, which was, you said October 23rd.
Yes, sir.
October 23rd, worst and best day of the whole month. You're not that far from the finish at that point, the last week. Take us through that last week of, it's like, all right, I made it through this. Now what am I doing? How did you get through that last week? And what kind of pace were you on? Did it look pretty promising?
Oh, very promising. After I finished that day, I was like, there's nothing stopping me. And the day after my birthday was my fastest day on the mountain, which is crazy because I literally limped up and down the mountain for 12 hours my birthday. Come the next day, I did 15K in like right above 6.5 hours or so. I mean, it was stupid fast for what I was doing all month. And I don't even know where it came from, but I was still hurting and somehow just crushed out 15K in, 6.5 hours. But we got back to the last 7 days and it was like another deja vu from 2020. You know how I said that I had 6 days left and I needed 15K to get to my goal? Well, we're back on the same pace. I have 6 days left, but I need 16K to get to my goal. And so I'm like, well, I've done it before and it's just 1K more a day. So nothing is going to stop me with that. And I went out, man, and cranked out 16K a day all day. But the funny part about that, actually, I flew home. The weather got so bad during 2 of those days that I flew back to Colorado and actually went down to the incline for a day and did my first 16K day on the incline. So, 8 laps on the incline, 2K up, 2-mile round trip. It was so steep and brutal. And these guys are out there just absolutely crushing it. And I mean, they weren't doing 8 laps, but my first time ever on the incline, I did 8 laps. And I got in my car after, or my truck, and I was like, I never want to go back here again in my life.
Oh my gosh. I didn't realize you had to travel just to get some more verdant because of the weather.
Dude, it played a huge part. I mean, there were several days throughout the month where I thought about just really just hopping back to Colorado for a few days. And those weather days, they're smaller days than I needed and that I wanted. And so with that last week of what I needed, I was like, man, I'm just going to go there for 2 days and then come back and the weather will be better. And sure enough, it was. So it was perfect play. I mean, it didn't cost me but $150, $200 total to do that with the flight and a rental. So, I mean, I thought at this point and how much time I've invested and how much money I've already invested into what I'm doing, I think it's worth it,
Right. So you finish up. What was that last day like? When did you know,
Dude.
or how, because you hit 400,000 in like 250 feet or something. So you knew right over the threshold. So it was right where you finished was pretty much right when you hit the goal. So
Yeah.
What was that like? Take us through. What was the day like? Was it nice weather at least? Did you have people out? And
Yeah,
how did
man.
that feel?
It was an awesome day. Physically, I had ended up battling foot tendonitis those past 4 days. My foot would swell up so bad that I couldn't walk at the end of the day. But on that last day, I was after my birthday, I'd already got to the mental mindset of none of this physical pain is going to stop me from getting to where I want to be. And that last day, I sprained my ankle, and so I was pushing up and down with a sprained ankle. But that again didn't really matter too much for it was the last day of the month. Like I'll be all right. And the weather was actually the best it was all month. I mean, that day was absolutely beautiful, and it wasn't too hot, wasn't too cold. It was perfect. Like when it wasn't raining or snowing on the mountain, it would be like 70 to 80 degrees, and I'm not used to that. And it was super hot, to say the least. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, the last day was amazing, man. I had my family come out. My parents showed up. My brother showed up. My best friend growing up showed up. Julian showed up. And a good handful of other people that were in the area, a part of the community showed up just to support that last day. And it was awesome, man. Greatest experience of my life. Yeah, I planned it to where the last lap I would end up on top of the hill where I've been doing my mini laps on the mountain. And so everybody that showed up that day ended up going up there to wait on me. And that last lap, man, it was awesome. It was me and my partner, Tyler, and another buddy. And we all just crushed uphill together to get up top and have a little party. So I saved a bottle of Blanton's bourbon for this pretty much. I bought it 5 years ago when I joined the Navy, and I was planning on opening it after Hell Week, which is in Navy SEAL training, which I ended up quitting in. Wow. So I ended up never opening the bottle and just saving it for a special occasion, which I didn't know what it was going to be at the time. I mean, Hell month, dude, pretty much. And, like 2 weeks in, I text my dad. I'm like, y'all need to bring that bottle because I will be opening it and drinking it. And, we we got to the top of the mountain. Everybody was there, all the people that I love and care about. And man, we enjoyed some really good bourbon over an amazing feat. So it was easily the best day of my life so far. And, just the feeling of accomplishment was awesome. And having the people around that I care about to witness it and be there for me.
I mean, I was going to ask you, your parents, you quit your job to make this happen. Is it something I'm sure they were doubtful of, like, maybe they're totally supportive. I don't know. I just know that it can, and not always the case. Maybe seeing you
Yeah.
finish and seeing you win this and the path that it's leading you down might have been like, wow, this is what our son's doing. It's pretty inspiring.
Yeah, man, it was definitely a thing. Like, I was talking about quitting my job for several months in a row. Like, I was to the point mentally and physically. I was like, man, I was telling everybody around me, like, all I need to do to get to that next level and that next step of where I want to be in this athlete world is quitting my job and going for it. I mean, that's not everybody's path, but I had some money saved up, and all I knew was that if I do this, it will work out. And I manifested it for months, man. I mean, I would say the same things to myself every day for months, and finally was like, I'm quitting. And they said, I want to think about it a little bit. My aunt and uncle, different aunt and uncle that I'm not living with now, they were like, well, if you got a good job and you're able to do what you like to do, you might as well hold on to it. I'm like, no, I want to, I want to bring this whole thing to the next level. It's like, I don't want to sit around and shovel snow and mow lawns. Like, I want to be out in the mountains all day, every day. And the only way to find out if I can do that and work is by trying. And so I didn't want to, wake up 10 years down the road and think, what if? So that was kind of like my main thing is like not wanting to know what if. I'm going to go find out right now. And sure enough, it worked out. And man, my parents are super proud, which it's been quite the road. It's like I went through the Navy stuff and went through buds to try to become a SEAL. And that was kind of my big thing several years ago, and ended up quitting. And that really deterred a big part of my life. I didn't really know what I was going to do next besides move to Colorado and see what happens. And I just dove straight into the trail running and skiing, and man, just living the dream, honestly. And it's been great. So that's kind of how that all plays out.
You hit 400,000, you reach your goal. How close do you think that puts you to your limit? You know what I mean? Like, do you think, okay, and I know you mentioned you're not going to do this again, but how close do you think, like, all right, that's pretty close to what I can do, but I'm curious if someone can take it to, 5, 6, 700,000. What do you feel about that?
Yeah, man. I was asked a few times of like, is that all that's possible? And I said straight up, like, no, I mean, anything is possible. I think that could be doubled. I mean, it literally comes down to spending the time to train for that specific event. I didn't spend any time training, and I did 400K, like training in the way of trying to get vert. The way to do it would be, you do a 150K month, then a 200K month, 250, and you work your way up and build this tissue capacity in your body to where you can handle these big limits. And that's exactly what this other guy did. He spent 5 months building up, doing exactly what I said you would have to do to get to these bigger numbers. And sure enough, he already did it, man. I mean, 500K was broken 1 month ago. This dude his name is Rami Alhamara. He's got no social media. He's got, 25 followers on Strava, and he honestly does not care about the record whatsoever. He's just out there crushing. He is in Manitou Springs, and he walks up and down the incline all day, every day. The dude is insane. He actually did the challenge too, and he took third place with right below 300K. And for him, he's like a mid-50s guy. Like, he's an older dude, just out there crushing. But like he's been doing the incline for so long that his body has adapted to the steepness and the just amount of crush you're putting on your body. And so, he did right below 300K in November or in October. And then November, he did the same thing, did another 300K. And then December, he did right below 400K. And then come January, he just sent it and crushed it, 500K. in October right now, or not October, right now in February, he's on track to do another 400. I mean, the dude has just built up the tissue capacity to do it. And that's really the main thing. Like, if you wanted to get to these big numbers, that's what it takes, is building up to it. Because you can't just hop in and do a 500,000. I mean, I hopped in and did 400K and I battled injuries all month. So to do it the right way, you do it the way he's doing. And I don't know what his end goal is. He doesn't really have a goal. It sounds like he's just kind of out there, crushing the incline. So I don't know.
That is wild. Well, geez, yeah, the incline does sound like a great way to get this if you can deal with the incline, because there's people out there, there's a lot of people to do the incline. So
yeah, it's like a cult out there, man.
Oh yeah, it's totally a cult. Yeah, it's a tourist attraction. You get people, dropping off all up the way that's in your way. So,
Yeah,
I mean, you're scrambling at some points on that thing. That's crazy. My wife did the incline at like 7 months pregnant a few years ago, and it was all icy. I was like, oh crap, we shouldn't be up here.
yeah, pretty much.
What do you think is one of the biggest lessons, or something that you're thinking about now that you learned from this experience, that you're going to take with you on this new journey that you're on?
Probably the biggest lesson I learned is there's really no limit unless you make a limit with your mind. Your mind is the limiter, and if you don't limit your mind, you can really do whatever you want, and that's what I learned. That's one of the lessons I was hoping to learn during Buds, which I failed to learn. And so this played a huge part in reteaching me this mindset that there's really no limits in this world as long as you want something enough and you put in the work to get to it.
How will you take that mindset moving forward? What are you going to try to do?
Yeah, man, I've got a handful of goals and objectives that I have on the plate right now that I'm looking forward to. Right now, I'm kind of getting ready to try to ski all the 14ers here in Colorado. That's my biggest goal right now. And I'm hoping to do that in record time as well, which is right now 138 days. Potentially this year, if not next year, the next year. It just depends on snow and conditions. And so I'm really just kind of studying the snow and hoping that I can at least give it a go this year. And that'll probably start within the next week or two, pretty soon actually. So that's my next big goal.
You said you would start that in the next week or two?
Yeah.
Holy cow. So you're doing this year?
I'm hoping to. It's just really, it's been a low snow year for the majority of Colorado. So I don't, right now, I don't know if they're all going to fill in or not, but I do know that some of the ones in the southern part of Colorado are in. And so I'm going to probably start digging around up there and seeing if there's anything I can get done before hopefully the northern mountains fill in more throughout March, April, May.
Oh, I see. So 130 something days is consecutive in the sense of like has to be done in that amount of time.
Yeah. So like he started in probably the beginning of February and then finished at the end of May or something like that,
Wow. That is insane, man. That is too cool.
Yeah.
Well, that sounds like another awesome episode, actually. So
yeah, man,
keep me posted because
when that happens, I would love to chat about it.
Oh, absolutely. So, all right. So skiing Colorado 14ers in record time. I guess you're done with the Max Vert Challenge. You mentioned not wanting to do it again. Is that just like, hey, I did it, book's closed, I did what I needed to do, I'm moving on?
Yeah, that's kind of how I look at it. It's like, I did it. I had a great time. I learned a lot of things. I inspired people, which is my main goal. And honestly, there are just so many cooler and more attractive things out there to do that I'd rather partake in.
Than not doing the same mountain like 8,000
exactly.
times. Yeah,
exactly.
I can totally get that. Let me ask you this before you go, because a lot of people, I don't often ask this, but what was some of the essential gear you needed? Obviously, with any trail run, something similar, you're going to have shoes and the clothing, but was there anything special that maybe you didn't realize before that you maybe picked up halfway through the experience or came in really crucial?
That's a good question. From the first time doing it back in 2020, I kind of realized what I needed to do, or like what I needed to have to make this actually work out better than not. And so mainly, like, I used hiking poles pretty much the entire month. That helped so much on the up. I didn't really use them on the down, but going up, it helped me so much. A lot of people use them on the down for the most part, but when I'm going downhill, I'm running and I don't want to slow down with hiking poles. Hiking poles play a huge part. Also, nutrition. When I was on the mountain, I was using Gnarly Nutrition. I was fortunate enough to have them, support the effort and use all their Fuel 2.0. I mean, so much of it. I was putting down probably 2,000 calories of their Fuel 2.0 every day when I was on the hill. And that was just crucial for what I was doing. There's no way I could have done it without that.
Wow. And I think they're based there in Salt Lake too.
They are.
Yeah, they're
they
good
are.
people. Good people.
They're great people, and they were super stoked, man. It was super fun working with them. I'm hoping to continue to do that in future projects as well.
That's awesome, man. Well, shoot, Chris, well, please keep us posted. This is exciting, man. I feel like you're, you quit your job pursuing this. You're just starting all this in a lot of ways. So it's going to be exciting to see where you go and where you take this. And, you're clearly going about it the right way. So I'm happy for you, and I'm happy to be able to chat with you this early in your career.
Thanks, man. It really does mean a lot. I took a big leap of faith, try to get into where I'm at, and just completely stoked of what's come of it so far and, what's going to happen next. So,
yeah, man. And word of advice, like you said before, you just got to see if it's possible. Got to see if you can. If you can't,
exactly.
If it doesn't work out, holy crap, you've already done something that I think made it worth it, and you're going to do more things that you're going to have these experiences no matter what. So you're always going to go back to your job, and you're going to have a hell of a lot more stories to talk about than people who never left in the first place,
Exactly, man. That's the biggest part about it. Just, not wanting to know what if.
Exactly. Well, now you know what it's like to climb Grandeur Peak like 5,000 times. So now you don't have to ask what if for that one.
Yep.
Let's move on to different mountains. All right, man. Well, Chris, thanks for making the time, and thanks for being flexible. And I will keep you posted. It'll probably come out in like a month or so. And if you're on your adventure at that point, we'll definitely shout out and tell folks to follow you.
Cool, man. Yeah, that'd be awesome. I'm super stoked to be able to chat with you, man. And it's been fun, and just looking forward to listening to the episode.
Awesome. All right, Chris, we'll talk soon.
Sounds good, brother. Well, you have a good rest of your day.
You too. See ya. First of all, thank you so much for listening. It means the world to us that you choose to listen to the show. If you'd like to help us further, you can leave a review on iTunes, share us with your friends, your family. It goes a long way to growing the show. You can also support us financially through patreon.com/adventuresportspodcast. Link is in the show notes. And also, if you have an idea of who could be a good guest for the show, we're always looking for people to tell their story about the outdoors or adventure. So if you know someone, please reach out. Email us at info@adventuresportspodcast.com. And until then, get out there and have some fun.
Whether you're splitting the cost of a road trip with the guys, paying the dog walker, or sending birthday money to your favorite cousin, Zelle is a great way to send money to family and friends, no matter where they bank in the U.S. Plus, money goes straight into the recipient's bank account, typically in minutes between enrolled users. And you probably won't have to download another app, because Zelle is already in over 1,400 different banking apps. Look for Zelle in your banking app today